Hi there. Today I'll be showing you guys two budget-friendly lenses for beginners for the Blackmagic Cinema Camera 2.5K, 6K, 6K Pro, the 4K, and the Pocket Original as well if you're using a speed booster or an adapter. So let's get started. So the first lens is the Yongnuo 50mm. This lens is a EF lens, and this is a knockoff of the Canon version. Uh, it's a pretty decent lens. I have previously owned the original version as well. The differences are very minor. This lens cost around $82 on Amazon. I guess it also depends where you are in the world, but this is Amazon America I'm talking about. Uh, this lens also has a newer version. Well, it's not really that new. It's been out for a couple of years, I guess, which cost around $100. I have tested that version as well. I personally don't feel there's much difference between the two except for how they look. This one I've owned for 3 years, and I think it gets the job done. And it's also a full frame lens. It's compatible with other Canon cameras. It's an EF lens, so that's quite obvious. The build quality of the lens, it's quite plasticky. Let's see if you guys can hear. But I've used it in rough environments, never had an issue, except for one little thing, is that over the years, the focus ring has gotten a little loose on this. Not a big issue, quite easy to focus. It's just that it was just a lot better before, now it's just quite loose. Besides that, this lens has the autofocus option here. There's a button, there's a switch. But I don't suggest people that rely on autofocus to use this lens because it does take a while for this lens to really focus, and more often it actually doesn't do a really good job at focusing. So not the best lens for people who rely on autofocus. So I think this is a pretty good budget option for beginner filmmakers. It's cheap enough, it's less than $100, so it's quite affordable. All the footage you're going to see today is shot in low light situations simply because this lens and the second lens both have a pretty wide aperture. This one is f1.8, so it performs pretty good in low light situations. The second one is also a Yongnuo lens. This is the 35mm. This lens is a little more expensive than the 50mm, but not significantly different. This lens on Amazon America it shows $106. Pretty good for the price. Again, pretty good budget-friendly option for beginner filmmakers. Also a good low light option, just like the first one. Although that lens is f1.8, this one is f2, but still pretty good. Same thing, works well with all EF cameras. It doesn't have to be the Blackmagic EF cameras, even the Canons, or if you are using speed booster with any other system, still pretty good. I have actually tested this lens with the GH4 and a speed booster, the Viltrox one, and it worked really well. This lens again is also pretty much a knockoff lens of the Canon lenses, but I think it's a pretty good knockoff, both of these, except for the fact that same thing, the build quality is plasticky, but again, quite reliable. This one, for some reason, unlike the first lens I showed you guys, the focus ring is still quite smooth, it's not loose on this one. I'm not sure what happened with the first lens I got, but it's also a little cheaper, and that lens also has a second generation. Maybe they improved the focus ring on that. This one, I don't know if this has a second generation or not, but still overall pretty good. Again, it can autofocus, but same thing, I wouldn't recommend anyone using the autofocus on this, even if you're using a Canon EF camera. All in all, pretty good lens, works well. Build quality is a little weak, but not like the worst ever. Pretty good option for beginners, and also good for low light situation. So here's a quick autofocus test of the lens. It can focus, well, it works with autofocus, it's just not the fastest autofocus compared to other Canon lenses. I guess this is a problem which a lot of third-party lenses might have. If you see when I move close and back, it's a little slow. Again, I'm not a big fan of autofocus. I usually use manual focus anyways, so it's not a big deal for me. And especially if you're using the Blackmagic cameras, they're also not known for autofocus anyways, so I guess these lenses can work there, except for the fact like you do have the focus button on those cameras, and then it focuses, but it's a little slow. I guess no matter what lens you put on those cameras, it will work the same way. But if you're going for an EF camera, then it's going to be a bit slower. So very quickly, there's one more lens I want to throw in. Uh, I know a few people might disagree with me, but the whole purpose of making this video is to help new and beginner filmmakers, and I think the Canon EFS 18-55 is also a pretty good lens to for new filmmakers or people that are into videography. I think it's pretty good to get the work done. I've used this lens a lot with the 2.5K Blackmagic camera. I'm not sure if you can get this lens new, but you can definitely find this lens used online. It's not too expensive. It depends on the condition. I have used this lens in a film as well. You'll see the shot soon on screen. And it's not the best lens for this is the problem with the autofocus on these Yongnuo lenses. So, it's not the best lens for low light situations, but you can definitely pull it out and get your shots pretty good. The difference between this lens and the other two lenses I showed you is this is a APS-C lens, those two are full frame. They're good for low light situations. This aperture on this one is 3.5 to I think it's 5.6, but still decent lens, good for beginners. So what do you think? Are these lenses good enough for beginners? For the 2.5K, 6K, 6K Pro, or any other camera? You can let me know your thoughts in the comments section. If possible, please hit the like button and please subscribe, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.